Hi everyone, my name is Saurav and I'm senior software engineer working with Microsoft. I'm sure all of you would have heard of Cloud Code, GitHub Copilot, and Cursor, and most of you would have already used these applications. I've spent quite some time understanding these applications and have spent some time understanding how do they work internally, and today I want to share it with you guys. How does Cloud Code, GitHub Copilot, or Cursor actually works, right? So it's made of two building blocks, the model and the harness. Model is the reasoning layer which reasons over the text, right? And then provides output text. Few things to note about the model, right? Model is not the one which is actually making the change in the real world. Anything that is happening in the real world is done by the harness. Right, harness is the one which learns the set of tools that are available to the model, which the model can invoke whenever it feels like, or whenever it feels right. For a given prompt, it needs to use a set of tools. Those tools are exposed by the harness, and harness is also the layer which actually does invoke those tools, right? So yeah, so we talked about two pieces, right? The model and the harness. So let's first look at the model, right? I think there are two important things that we need to understand about the model. First is the model can only take text as input and produce text as output. Now a natural question that comes is, right, then how is Cloud Code or GitHub CLI able to read the code that lies on my disk, which is a part of a repo, right? So that's where the harness comes into picture. One is the model, right? Let's say you're using GitHub CLI and the underlying model is Opus 4.8, right, or Opus 5 now, which is available recently. So how is this application able to read those file, reason over it, and then update it or provide a summary, right? So here is the flow. Whatever you provide in the prompt is not the entire text that is fed to the model. What the harness does is it adds a lot of system prompts, which gives the model a kind of an identity. It may say something like your Cloud Code, or your GitHub CLI, which helps with software development. Again, I'm not the exact prompt to differ for different application, but the idea is there is a system prompt which provides the model persona, and then there are tools. These tools are where these harness come into picture, right? I think prompting we all understand, right? You can ask the model to take a persona and it will act as that and produce output in similar to being that persona, right? Let's say if you ask him to be a senior software developer or an architect, it will produce output accordingly in some shape or form based on the training, right? Now the important point to note is that is the system prompt. Then there is a layer which is the set of tools which are available to the model. Again, this is also made available by the harness. Again, I'm not talking about MCP tools for now, but I think these are built-in tools which are part of your native application like GitHub CLI or Cloud Code, right? These are natively shipped as part of these applications, which and a set of tools which are available are around read file, edit file, run a particular command, even in some cases search the web, and there could be other similar tools which are available, right? So these tools are in the form of instructions, as in what these tools can do and how do you invoke these tools. So what the model will do, right, whenever it needs to run a tool. So let's say you asked, right, for file 1 on my disk. Again, assuming you provide the path or a name, right, then it can go ahead and find that file. But let's focus on one simple situation, right? You have a file 1 wherein you have a function 1, and we want to understand how is function 1 working, or you want to update that function, right? So let's break it down. How does it work one by one, right? So the first part is, let's say you prompted, right, what is function 1 in file 1 doing, right? Or give me a brief summary of this function. So this is your prompt, but what actually goes to the model, right, as part of prompt is a lot more other set of information which is clubbed up as part of this model invocation. One is the set of one first layer is the system prompt, then there are a set of tools. For example, the harness will say, right, or again, Cloud Code or GitHub CLI will say these are the set of tools that you can use to maybe read a file, right? For, let's say, for read file, it can say you have a set of tools which you can use to read a file, right? Then you have a set of tools that you can use to write to a file. Then you have a set of tools which you can use to read or search the web, right? Uh, again, right, I think maybe I'm jumping a bit ahead, but this is where MCP also comes into picture. Let's say you have added some MCP, right? The harness lists those tools as well and uses the description of those tools and how to and basically ask the model, right, tell me in a proper format, output this text, right, in a proper format, and I'll do that operation for you and give you back the response, right? So in this case, let's say you want to understand function 1 in file 1, right? The model, based on, again, it has reasoning capability, right? And based on the training, it can say, okay, since I need to read file 1, function 1 of file 1, I first need to read file 1 from the disk. So then it will prompt something like read file, and then it will give the file name. Again, I'm not talking about the exact structure, but something of this sort, right? That's all the model does. It spits out a text which gives the harness the signal that, okay, the model is trying to invoke this tool, and then it's the harness's responsibility. It takes that tool, right, and goes ahead and actually read the file and provide the content of the model back to the model. And that's where the model get, okay, this is the function 1 over function 1 of file 1. Now I need to understand how this function is doing. And again, based on its reasoning and training, right, the models are really good at understanding text or code. So it will go over function 1 and then, provide a brief summary saying this is what the function is doing. And again, if it's text output, right, the harness will go ahead and update it to the, in your CLI, it will output it for you, right? But whenever it's a tool invocation, the harness will run that tool, take the output of that tool's invocation and pass it on to the LLM in a loop fashion, right? So that's how, at least, again, I've taken a very simple example, but that's roughly how these two sit together, right? Any operation, right? For example, running a code, the model itself can't run a Python code, but when you ask, right, even in ChatGPT or GitHub Copilot or anywhere, right, you can actually run smaller pieces of code. The interpreter is part of the harness layer. Same way you can search web, searching the web capability is added by the harness. Same way you can edit a file, that capability is added by the harness. Now again, just to extend it or to complete the loop picture, right, any GitHub issue that the model is able to create is via these MCP tools, right? Harness has exposed those tools and the model then say, again, model is not the actual one who is creating the tool. It just outputs that, okay, this should be the title of the issue, or let's say you want to create anything, right? This is the title of this, or basically the tool description will also have a structure to it, right? That what are the fields that are needed for this tool invocation, right? So let's say for edit file, it could be a simple thing, right? Replace text A with text B, right? So model will output both text A and text B, and then the tool name, let's say update file or edit file, right? And harness will go ahead and actually make that change on your disk. Now same thing could be extrapolated to any other scenario, right? That's where it gets massively it can gain any capability. Ideally, if you expose these tools to do anything, right, model gets that capability. It already has reasoning capability, and whatever are the set of tools that are exposed to the models, that's how big, right, or effective the application keeps getting. So all that Cloud Code or GitHub CLI applications are doing is taking or exposing a lot of tools which are available, and then again it has exploded in terms of MCP, right? With MCP, again, you can query a database, you can search over database, you can file a ticket, you can create a work item, you can create a text document, you can write again, the opportunities are limitless, and I think anything that we currently are doing, it can do it in some shape or form, or if there are tools exposed for all of it, it can do it in some shape or form. I hope this helps you understand how does uh, any of these applications work, and again, I'll go over more details maybe in the subsequent videos. Thank you.